Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Eros in the 8th house in a natal chart. Now, Eros in astrology can be connected with what we have a very powerful, sometimes it could be a near unconquerable sexual attraction to. Now, since we're talking about the house, that's really that sector of life where it falls, and it could give certain characteristics as far as that kind of person we have that inordinate sexual attraction to, but it's going to be more about where this falls in, and it really the thing is, I mean, the Eros by sign is more about the characteristics of that person, and the house that it falls in can show more of the where and maybe how in some cases. Now, or even who. Now, this is since we're talking about the 8th house. The 8th house, of course, rules sex. This could be a person that actually is a sexual partner, could be your consistent sexual partner. So this is obviously could be a very good placement for this, because of course it's significant to have a very strong and powerful sexual attraction to your sexual partner, obviously. But at the same time, it could be somebody that you're in a business connection with. Say if this is in Capricorn, it could be an older person, a more mature person that you're in some business connection with or a shared resources scenario with. It could also be somebody that might play an integral role in a transformation in your life. Say if this is in Pisces, it could be like a spiritual transformation. And also remember, the 8th house is about rebirth and regeneration. So it can be somebody that's part of some revival on your part. And the thing about it too is it could also be somebody that figures very prominently, perhaps in a legacy you might leave behind, and also it might be somebody that might be involved in your insurance or tax. There could be somebody that's in that kind of profession, somebody that might work in insurance or taxes, or somebody that's in some astrological, occult, or supernatural field, or some investigation, forensics, something like that. Now, also, keep in mind, I mean, as far as this goes, in some cases, I mean, since we're talking about the 8th house, this might be a Scorpio sun, moon, or ascendant person, or it may simply be one that embodies Scorpio characteristics and traits. But I mean, as far as the sign goes, I mean, say if you have this in Gemini as an example, if your Eros is in Gemini, it could be a Gemini sun, moon, or ascendant person, or one that embodies those characteristics. It could be, for example, if it was in Gemini, it could be somebody that you might meet that could be a Gemini sun, moon, or ascendant person, or one that could just be like very cerebral, intellectual, very loquacious, versatile. It might be somebody that can be very knowledgeable about a lot of elements or parts of components of astrology or the supernatural, or anything that could be 8th house related. Now, it could also be as well, what I want to get at, this could also be something where Eros in astrology, again, could be connected with that kind of energy that we have that very powerful, near inordinate sexual attraction to. But it could also be, in some cases, be where we have that exceptional turnoff. We might simply be rebuffed by, or just flat out repudiate or reject. Now, given that this is the 8th house, it could be somebody that maybe is a little bit too deep in some cases for somebody. I mean, if you have some, like, say if you have a Gemini sun, moon, or ascendant, you might not be somebody that's necessarily looking for a person that might be overly, looking for a really deep connection, but it could be, or just being deep in just in subjects in general, because of course Gemini could be rather superficial. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you won't be attracted on a sexual level to some degree to this 8th house energy. Now, it could also be to where it might be where the person, you might be also exceptionally turned off by somebody that's overly powerful or mysterious, somebody that's just over like an enigma, or a person that's overly secretive and keeps a lot of things to his or her self. I mean, say if you have like Leo dominant in your chart and you have like a Leo sun, moon, or ascendant person, you might be somebody that's very gregarious and extroverted, and really kind of just let it all out basically in terms of what you're going to talk about, what you divulge, and somebody that might be too secretive might be somebody that might be overly, you might be rebuffed by. And the thing about this too is it could also be somebody that you might reject, that might be overly obsessive or fixated, or somebody that might be a control freak, or person that's overly probing and investigative. It might be somebody that might be prying too much into what you want and in terms of your own personal business or what have you, and it might be somebody that you just really can't get into. So anyway, well, eras in astrology can also reflect our creative energy and ability. Now, since we're talking about the 8th house, this might be somebody that injects a lot of that creativity into like investigation. As an example, let's say you have Eros and Pisces in your natal chart in your 8th house. This could be somebody that uses their creativity in terms of using chemistry. Through chemical related matters in investigation, using chemistry to investigate crimes. If you're somebody in forensics, as an example, I mean, I saw an episode of Forensic Files one time, and they showed somebody where apparently there was some forensic history that was made. They were able to, they exhumed like these ashes out of the ground one time that belonged to a person. And what they were able to do by doing so, they were able to analyze some kind of arsenic, that was extract arsenic from that, from those ashes, and it made using chemistry techniques or what have you, and that's like an example I'm throwing out. But anyway, it could be somebody that brings a lot of creative energy and ability into astrology. Say if it's an Aquarius, it could be like designing some kind of computer astrological software, or if it's in Libra, it could be art that might be tied into astrology. It might be astrological art. Aries, I mean, it might be through welding or carpentry, doing something of a creative nature that might be done with, say, a sexual partner or somebody you're in a shared resources situation. It could be a business connection, and it might be where you show your own creative energy through some kind of moral, emotional, or monetary support. I mean, somebody can skywrite a message and or put something on an electronic scoreboard and say you are loved, and it's kind of like giving somebody a little moral support and making them feel a little bit better about themselves. I'm just throwing that out there arbitrarily as an example. But also, keep in mind, Eros in astrology can also be associated with what one has a very powerful and exuberance and enthusiasm, even a strong passion for. Now, given this is the 8th house, of course, sex is what would stand out. It could be somebody that is really enthusiastic about, like, say, astrology or the occult, supernatural. It can be say if this is in Taurus, this could be a person that might be very exuberant about having a very stable sexual life. It might be somewhat monotonous, but at the same time, it could be somebody that shows a lot of exuberance and enthusiasm, and it might be somebody that might be very enthusiastic regarding matters connected with psychology, investigation, getting to the bottom of things. Say if this is in Virgo, it might be somebody that's very enthusiastic about analytical psychology, and also a lot of deep research too, going into investigation again. And it might be somebody also that has a very strong passion for leaving a legacy. It could be somebody that works every day in trying to build that and has very expansive energy and connection with that, is very exuberant about it. It could be matters with transformation, again, going to Pisces. It could be through metaphysical, or I should say like a spiritual transformation. And even dealing with crisis situations. This could be a person that might really might be enamored with the challenge of dealing with crisis situations, showing bravery. Say if this is an Aries, this could be somebody that really is really really exuberant about being very courageous and showing a lot of fortitude and courage in crisis related matters, and also about perhaps giving moral, emotional, and monetary support perhaps as well. Now, as an aspect example, say that this makes a sextile or trine to your natal moon. This could be somebody that gives, this could be very auspicious for getting support from the mother, from a family member, or some prominent woman in your life scheme, in terms of the things that you might express very strong creative energy and ability toward, whether it could be, I mean, 8th house, it could be astrology, somebody in a shared resources situation, some kind of investigation that you do, or things that you simply have a powerful exuberance and enthusiasm for that are associated with the 8th house. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard said, stay well.